what exactly was a musketeer? The original musketeers were regiments of infantry who were armed with the musket. At first a slow and inaccurate weapon that became increasingly powerful on the battlefield. But the King's Musketeers were an elite force, the Royal Bodyguard, a regiment of gentlemen who would never dream of using a firearm. So when Hollywood portrays a musketeer, he is armed, quite rightly, only with a sword. When it came to protecting the honor of one's king, the sword was mightier than the musket. The sort of weapon that they used then, and which you will have to learn to use now, is this. The rapier. There's a whole table full of rapiers here. I want you to go over there, choose one, come and try it out. The rapier evolved from the broadsword used by medieval knights. The old armoured glove was replaced by bars over the hilt that protected the hand. The rapier's slender form allowed a musketeer to concentrate all the power into the point.
You can really tell the difference in the balance of this.
The Hollywood ones we were using would hurt, but these feel like they'd really do a lot of damage.
It's much more unwieldy, not as comfortable and as light as the other blades we were using. Sharp and heavy and nasty. Nasty, longer blade.
It's all right to attack with. You can really get in there, but it takes your weight with it, so it'd be hard to get back from the attack to defend with.
In the right hands, the rapier could be a formidable instrument of death. It was a heavy and cumbersome sword, whose razor-sharp point was intended mostly for attacking.
And the people who use them would have to be pretty strong.
This is, without doubt, the deadliest weapon that has ever been created for personal combat, simply because it is razor-sharp. It's the point that kills. 3 inches of this will kill you. I could hack at you, I could hit your arms, I could hit your legs, you'd still live through it if you were lucky. If I stick you with one of these, you're dead. So virtually all of true rapier work is point work. The other thing is that these weapons were extremely long. Yeah? Just think of how quickly you can do a thrust. Don't move. Okay? It's a split second. Stay where you are. Any thrust, you can get 2-3 thrusts in a second. For defense, a musketeer might use his glove to grab at his opponent's rapier and immobilize it. If he had a cloak, that too could be used for protection. But a well-armed duelist would be armed with something more. All right, now this is a very small shield called a buckler. And this is pretty good, because if you use this in the left hand and hold it well out, it means that virtually your whole body is covered. But the buckler became dead weight if the fighting got too close. The ideal complement to the rapier was the left-hand dagger. All right, this is an ideal weapon, because with a very slight movement, you can parry it. Okay, give me a high thrust. There. You can knock the blade out of the way, low thrust. There. Okay, another low thrust. There. Whatever you do with this weapon, it's short and sweet, all right? You can just about keep up with an incoming rapier with this weapon. And of course, give me another low thrust. If you get in, it means that the dagger can actually be used as an offensive weapon as well. But the most direct path to killing one's opponent with a rapier was with a move called the lunge. How many feet between us, do you think?
15.
15 feet, maybe. Okay. Now watch this. This is a single lunge. There. All right, I'm a foot away from him. So basically, I've covered 12 to 14 feet with a single lunge. Among the most formidable moves is the time stroke. It allows me to deflect my opponent's lunge while simultaneously thrusting my rapier towards his stomach. Still, most damage with a rapier was inflicted with only a small movement. For instance, this one, come again, there. Yeah, I've just nicked to his face. All right? They often use the face as a target. If I hit him anywhere, keep still, anywhere above the eye, he's going to bleed and the blood will go straight down into his eye. He won't be able to see. If I hit him anywhere on the cheek, it's extremely aggravating and annoying, and it also means that he's going to be scarred for life, and he knows it instantly. All right? If I manage to actually penetrate in any way the head, then he's gone. He's had it.
Before the team take up their rapiers and go on guard against each other, they must be warned.
Even as you're rehearsing, I want you to be aware, although we blunted these points, if this hits you, it will go in. All right? So I want you to keep your distance, keep your brain about you. You really can't fake these rehearsals. You have to be absolutely concentrated.
The team has learned that a 17th century musketeer could be a deadly adversary in combat. That was due in part to the elegant design of his sword. But without proper training, the sword was useless. So how did the musketeers of the day learn to become expert fighters, even heroes?
All right, guys, gather round. Now, you are doing exactly what they would be spending most of their days doing. You're practicing with your rapiers and daggers. They had a lot of time to spend doing exactly this. And they started to hire the new specialists, the new fencing masters. Now, these guys were great salesmen, apart from being good fencers, and they all published these incredibly articulate and ornate manuals like this one.
The manuals were illustrated with every pose and position a swordsman was likely to encounter. More than just a rule book for slicing and dicing one's opponent, such manuals showed a musketeer how to mould his body into a weapon. But how realistic were they? Could you really learn sword fighting from a book? This example shows the swordsman fighting with only a rapier, no shield and no dagger.
Chris, I noticed that you were actually trying to fight Marlon with just rapier and no dagger. How did you find it?
I just felt every time I made an attack, I just left myself wide open because he could parry with one and I had nothing to make the block with.
Chris has a point. I mean, I'd rather fight with two swords instead of one. Yet these were among the teachings and strategies of the greatest fencing masters of the 17th century. A time when stuff like this could save your life. The best musketeers didn't just study fencing moves. They learned how to use the whole body as a weapon, a fighting machine that could focus all its power into one point.